The History of Tom Jones, a Foundling. Book 10, in which the history goes forward about 12 hours. By Henry Fielding, narrated by Sam Cousy. Chapter 1, containing instructions very necessary to be perused by modern critics. Reader, it is impossible we should know what sort of person thou wilt be, for perhaps thou mayest be as learned in human nature as Shakespeare himself was, and perhaps thou mayest be no wiser than some of his editors. Now, lest this latter should be the case, we think proper, before we go any farther together, to give thee a few wholesome admonitions, that thou mayest not as grossly misunderstand and misrepresent us, as some of the said editors have understood and misrepresented their author. First, then, we warn thee not too hastily to condemn any of the incidents in this our history as impertinent and foreign to our main design, because thou dost not immediately conceive in what manner such incidents may conduce to that design. This work may indeed be considered as a great creation of our own, and for a little reptile of a critic to presume to find fault with any of its parts without knowing the manner in which the whole is connected, and before he comes to the final catastrophe, is a most presumptuous absurdity. The allusion and metaphor we have here made use of we must acknowledge to be infinitely too great for our occasion, but there is, indeed, no other which is at all adequate to express the difference between an author of the first rate and a critic of the lowest. Another caution we would give thee, my good reptile, is that thou dost not find out too near a resemblance between certain characters here introduced, as for instance between the landlady who appears in the 7th book and her in the 9th. Thou art to know, friend, that there are certain characteristics in which most individuals of every profession and occupation agree. To be able to preserve these characteristics and at the same time to diversify their operations is one talent of a good writer. Again, to mark the nice distinction between two persons actuated by the same vice or folly is another, and as this last talent is found in very few writers, so it is the true discernment of it found in as few readers, though I believe the observation of this forms a very principal pleasure in those who are capable of the discovery. Every person, for instance, can distinguish between Sir Epicure Mammon and Sir Fopling Flutter, but to note the difference between Sir Fopling Flutter and Sir Courtly Nice requires a more exquisite judgment, for want of which vulgar spectators of plays very often...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?